check out Bridget's lowlights. This is what I think got everybody buzzing. Brian started to walk down the aisle in the entrance procession with the Book of Gospels balanced on his head. The deacon leaning over to me as he passed, saying, "Get to Kevin and get that gum out of his mouth." And of course, a highlight might be to look at Kevin's face when I told him to spit his gum in my hand. And then, of course, the tuxedo-clad group, because they were all getting ready for prom, one kid snuck out after communion to get an early start at prom. Now remember, this is a confirmation ceremony, Book of Gospels on the head. I think we can all go understand the practical reality of gum. Here's my practical reality during the celebration itself. Tell one kid. I usually tend to sponsor one kid, and I have a kid ready. Just say wisdom. The question always seems to be right off the bat, so what are the gifts of the Holy Spirit? Raise your hand first and say wisdom. And then the bishop will never call on you, especially with 115 candidates. It's a practical reality and a great suggestion to ease kids on who's going to get called on first. Remember, you raise your hand first, you won't get called on again. I think it's masterful. Anyway, so look, there are so many other, and I know you've looked at all of these discussion threads and the practical realities that go with it. Let's look at what Tom said from Knoxville. 100% participation is a highlight. That's amazing. On the weekend retreat, had parishioner involvement in the weekend retreat. They had the praying for the confirmands while they were gone on retreat. The sincerity and the prayerfulness that come with such experience. Getting the pastor together to agree to move the confirmation mass from a weeknight to a Sunday so that the whole parish could participate. These are some really great highlights. Look at the lowlights. Parent and grandparents forced the girls to go through the process. Wow, if that's not a practical reality, I don't know what is. I don't know how many or what the percentage is, but it's certainly significant enough to know that we experience it every time, to where we have to deal with a kid who's forced to go through the preparation. And it's something to deal with, and actually it makes us good. It makes us better youth ministers, because it teaches us how are we going to minister to the kid that's not sure they got it, and to really instill and understand what we talked about in the live discussion, that flicker that Benedict described. If we can just identify the flicker of the Holy Spirit's presence in the process, then we too can walk with these kids hand in hand, if you will, through their faith journey. Obviously, extracurricular conflicts, Tom lists as another low light. The extracurricular conflicts that come with sports and outside of church activities, they seem to take precedent over things based on confirmation. Another person reflected on a low light as literally at the end of the confirmation ceremony, at the end of the confirmation picture, a parent in the vestibule of the church with a sports uniform ready to take the kid to football practice. And as they said in the post, they never saw either one of those folks again. The idea of keeping it all together, keeping it organized, keeping it special, keeping it fresh, keeping it spiritual, that becomes our challenge. And one thing I enjoyed about the live discussion here at the Module 3 part of the program is that we talked about the reality of keeping things simple. We've already spoken to that today. But to keep it simple is keeping it simple for them. Keeping it simple for them usually means that it's more difficult and more challenging and more time-consuming and more tedious for us. So in the realm of ministry, to keep it simple for the faithful, we have to think ahead and organize ahead and be, somewhat proactive in the way we look at things. And is it possible that the kid who's waiting to go to practice after confirmation is still got that flicker of hope? So in conclusion, what's practical for me? What's real for me? The practicality of being a very disorganized person called to be organized. That's a very practical challenge for me. And I don't know if that's a trait of youth ministers across the board, or if the organized ones are the ones participating in this course, while the rest of us out there disorganized don't even know a course like this exists. On the other hand, the reality is that I too have something to give. And the gift that I bring my program is that willingness to speak off the cuff, that willingness to let the Spirit flow when it has to, that willingness to, God forbid if I have to bend the rules to make things work in the moment. Drives other people crazy, but it tends to help sometimes. And the practical realities of confirmation. You've got to work with your diocese. You've got to plan as best you can with the information and the material given to you. You've got to choose the resource that's best for you and your parish. You've got to work through it, and for God's sake, keep your volunteers happy, because it's the volunteers that make it work. And that one post about the parent night that Sister Tracy put in, that parent night where you bring the parents and the sponsors together each time you gather. Hard thing to do, but wow, what a gift if it can be done. And in her example, the reality of letting parents stand up and share their faith, and in the one example of the Vietnamese father standing up to tell the true story about he and his family made it to this country. And it was not an easy trek, folks. If you look into that and you talk to the Vietnamese members of your own parish, you'll see not an easy way to America. A lot of these people share the same stories, and it was rough on them, rough on their families, literally coming to this country with nothing and working their way up. And so a lot of fine people in our parishes with great stories that impress upon the kids that this journey of faith, this journey of time in understanding and opening up the Spirit is all part of the fruit of the Spirit in our parish life. And so the practical reality, if I keep saying this, I do it on purpose, because the practical reality is that sometimes the impractical takes precedent. Sometimes that thing that you would think is not real, that thing that you would think is somewhat pie in the sky, it'll never happen, actually happen, i.e. the two boys to stand up and read the creed. What a great, it's not real in teenage life. That stuff doesn't happen. So sometimes the practical reality of confirmation is that the impractical and the unreal are the things that make things memorable for the kids. The things that make things memorable for you. The stuff that doesn't really happen at all suddenly happens, and you've got the best retreat ever. And look at it, in conclusion, look at it from your perspective. What do we all remember from our confirmations? Lights and sounds and attitudes and personalities. And remember, this lifelong journey is going to bring the Spirit to all of us. We're going to be filled with the knowledge and filled with the understanding and filled with the wisdom and filled with the courage and filled with the piety and filled with the Holy Spirit. All its fruits, everything is going to be showered upon us. It's just going to happen when God decides for it to happen. It's just going to happen when we open our hearts to it. And if that's today, fantastic. If that's 30 years from now, well, the MTS course, 30 years from now, while we're still doing it in some other form or fashion, will break open with a new generation of youth ministers just how much they remember from this year, 2008, the year that they got confirmed, or the year that they led a confirmation class for the first time. There's a whole lot of new people out there getting into the Spirit and starting a faith journey. We're in good hands. Do not be troubled. Do not panic. Do not fret. Society will survive whatever society is going through, because the Holy Spirit is alive and well in the hearts of our teenagers. And all of that thanks goes to God Himself and His empowerment of you and I in this business we call ministry, in this privilege we call ministry. It's been awesome to be a part of this program. Thanks to Lee, thanks to Charlotte, thanks to Liturgical Press, thanks to the National Association for Catholic Youth Ministry Leadership. Thanks to all of you for giving a darn and taking the time to be here. Anyway, for now, stay tuned with the GregCast. Search GregCast somewhere and you'll find it on iTunes or on YouTube or wherever. But this special edition has come to an end. And that's the practical reality of confirmation. Peace out.